Welcome back and thank you for staying with Morning Express, 30 minutes past 7 a.m. In case you're just joining us, we continue to deliberate on the latest that happened throughout this week. Amongst them, a lot of progress in terms of the Constitutional Amendment Bill 2020 and the political noise that surrounds it. Of course, touching on the no campaign, and we'll definitely continue deliberating on this. But this time round, I want us to shift focus into the war of words between the NASA principle that seems to be continuing. One may wonder why it is so hard for Kalonzo Musyoka, Musalia Mudavadi and Moses Wetangula to ditch NASA and ODM leader Raila Odinga. Now, KTN's political reporter Murimi Mwangi looks at the backroom wars in NASA and seeks to explain why the noise in the opposition coalition may just remain just that, at least until the 2022 general election.
The marriage conveniently sealed with vows of a united quest for power, bringing together ODM leader Raila Odinga, Wiper's Kalonzo Musyoka, ANC's Musalia Mudavadi, and Ford Kenya's Moses Wetangula might have seemed easy. But turns out it's not as easy for any of them leaving the political matrimonial home. There is the National Super Alliance, NASA.
There are certain people who want to have their cake and eat it. They don't want to exit, but they want to try and make it look like those other parties are the ones that exited. Because NASA was a dream, an aspiration of many people.
While the coalition agreement dictates that NASA can only stand dissolved if 3 of the 4 founding parties formally withdraw in writing to the registrar of political parties, several other goodies still keep these 3 in this abusive political marriage. And perhaps most outstanding are prime parliamentary leadership slots and membership in strategic National Assembly and Senate committees. In the National Assembly, Wiper's Robert Mbui took up the deputy minority leader's seat, as Ford Kenya's Chris Wamalwa occupied minority chief whip post. In the Senate, ANC's Cleophas Malala became the deputy minority leader, while Wiper's Mutula Kilonzo Jr. took up the minority chief whip post. Positions Wiper, ANC and Ford Kenya would instantly lose if they vacated the coalition.
And therefore it presents challenges to any of the parties, because in the sense that you move to a minority of a minority. We are already in the minority, you move to a minority of a minority. And the fundamental question is, a year to the election, whether that is necessary.
Yet an even uglier backroom political war dissuades Kalonzo, Mudavadi and Wetangula from vacating NASA. The fight for a share of the political party's fund, including some 4.5 billion shillings, the courts recently awarded ODM after a protracted legal battle with the registrar of political parties. Legally, these funds are calculated on the basis of the cumulative votes individually garnered by parliamentary political parties. Currently, only ODM and Jubilee merit for the funds. Wiper, ANC and Ford Kenya, however, claim the 2017 votes were a joint coalition effort.
If it is not them crying at funerals and harassing our party leader whenever he comes to functions and funerals in Western Kenya that he must endorse them, you will hear once they finish that noise, they will start the noise of money again, making noise that ODM must give us money. They have become a big nuisance, and for us, the better they leave us, the faster they leave us alone, the better it is going to be for us as a party.
In reality, a NASA secretariat would receive the money, and then the NASA secretariat would distribute the resources quietly, in a quiet manner, in a gentleman manner, without involving third parties. That is where we are stuck. We are stuck because the NASA Secretariat is no longer functional. The NASA Secretariat was disbanded.
With a delicate balance between clinging on and losing it all, the noises in the National Super Alliance may remain just that as the 2022 countdown continues. Murimi Mwangi, KTN News, in Nairobi.
Well, just noises, that's a big question. Many thanks, Murimi Mwangi. Political parties fund seems to be a key issue right here, but also the politics of promises and broken promises. I mean, Kasim Tandaza, as an insider of ANC, what do you make of this?
I think our lawyers in drafting the NASA coalition agreement let us down. I'm talking of our lawyers on our side. I think at one point they were played and they did not know. They focused on the political side of it, the election, win or lose, and left the finer details. And that is where they are. Because if it was properly documented that whether we win or lose, this is how we are going to go about it, I think it should have been a clear case, either at the political parties tribunal or even in the courts of law. But I think we were played. This, I'm saying, I think we were played, and that is why we are stuck. But to me, that should not have been the issue. We are looking at 2022 with our own presidential candidate. I think, if I speak my mind, we are also not getting it right by always referring to the previous NASA coalition, which was in 2017. We should be very busy forming other coalitions, always probably complaining about we are waiting to be endorsed. And, you know, for this one, I think I'll have to speak my mind. If I were to go for the presidency, I'll go for the presidency, be endorsed by the electorates, the votes. But apparently we are stuck that probably without so and so, we cannot win, which to me is a very bad scenario in ourselves. We are losing precious time. 2022 is approaching as we are bickering over political parties' fund, as we are bickering over who is going to support us, an individual, and hopefully thinking that once the individual anoints you, then the other votes will fall into place. I actually don't believe in this. Okay. We should actually be going for the top seat full hog now.
Well, that's interesting. Mark Bichachi, it's been a war of words this particular week. Others have been called cowards, others have fired back saying you should have stepped down this time around, irrespective of whether you won or lost in the previous election. Endorse us. But what do you make of this particular talk around the NASA coalition and the run-up to the 2022 election?
Well, I think it's just pure politics. I don't think any of the principles of NASA, be it Kalonzo Musyoka, Musalia Mudavadi, are under any delusion that they can actually make a stab for the presidency legitimately and expect to win. And this is based on the fact that in 2007, Kalonzo ran by himself. He got 300,000 votes and quickly had to accept a deputy vice president position under Kibaki. Musalia Mudavadi did his Amani coalition in 2013. He left with another 300,000 votes. And even so, Raila get nearly more votes than him within Vihiga, where he comes from. So the fact of the matter is this: all of this noise they are making, and it is literally noise, is to give them relevance, is to show that they are still political juggernauts in their fiefdoms. But the truth of the matter is none of them can hold a candle to Raila Odinga in terms of illegitimate popularity and legitimate influence over the people. And therefore their only hope is that Raila Odinga steps aside and then his political fortunes somehow magically fall on one of them. Unfortunately, that's not how politics works. Just because Raila says so and so, Tosha, it does not necessarily mean that that's what is going to happen. Now, that said, what they are doing is actually what they should do, and that is to create competition and to excite their base. Because if their base doesn't think they have a realistic chance of running for office, then their base gets disgruntled. So in terms of strategy, the noise they are making is very right. They need to make that noise, but they also need to make sure that the BBI works for them, because the BBI allows them to have various positions within the either the opposition or the ruling party. So that's where they need to go. They will continue to make noise, but trust you me, they're not fools. They know that at the end of the day, the man to beat and the man to watch is Raila Odinga.
Interesting. Professor Gitile Naituli, the politics of coalition might actually come out. It has in some sort of way in the Matungu and Kabuchai by-elections, those particular party leaders conglomerating together to support the ANC and Ford Kenya party candidate. But as BBI is in the question, it will be a launchpad perhaps for formations. Even as you add on your thoughts about NASA, talk to us about the politics of coalitions and the formations that might might emerge going forward?
Coalitions will emerge because, unfortunately, we believe in nothing. I said that unfortunately we actually believe in nothing.
Expound.
This is why the coalitions that we make every election collapse. Because if the coalitions we make, for example, take NASA or Jubilee, if there was a concrete ideology binding the membership and a vision that is shared and accepted by the membership of the party, then it's not possible for these parties to go down every election. Remember, we had knocked down after election. Then they are just following the tradition. So the coalitions are merely vehicles. But having said that, let me just say this. I don't know whether I'm alone in this thinking. I think Mundavandi is underselling himself. I think Mundavandi is competitive. I think there is a political change, an underground political change that we are not appreciating, that some of the Deputy President supporters, these were actually formerly Raila supporters. So because there is some degree of destabilization underground, which is now taking place, the ANC leader becomes competitive. He is also very sober. He never talks with emotions, if you notice. Even when he was making a comment there, right. He made a very solemn comment on the fate of NASA. So we can expect for 2022, these people will all be in new vehicles, and those vehicles again will not last to the next election because this has never happened. Now, having said that, let me say this: ODM has been the oldest party in the country. And it has survived as a solid party all this. So for those planning to oppose Raila Odinga, they need to take him on the basis that he is actually an organizer. His party has transcended several elections.
All right.
That is a plus for him. But I think the supporters of ANC, they need to understand that they have an opportunity here. They can let the opportunity go, or they can seize it.
Okay.
But the opportunity is there because this environment, the political environment pertaining for 2022 is not the same as the political environment which was in 2017. This is a different political environment.
Okay, next week, even as you add Kasim, next week, Kabuchai, Matungu, many have touted it will be a litmus test. Even the party leader, Musalia Mudavadi. Talk to us about this.
Before I go into the issue of the Kabuchai and Matungu, I would want to make some honest corrections. One on Buchachi, that our party leader, that is Honorable Musalia Mudavadi, got 300,000 votes. That is factually wrong. That is factually wrong. He got more than that. Two, to Professor, who I really respect here, ODM is not the oldest party. The oldest party is KANU, and I don't know if in terms of oldest, why you are not referring to KANU actually being the party to beat. So you realize now, in elections, parties are not really the issue. But what has come out clearly since multipartyism is the issue of coalition. Unfortunately, I don't have much time to talk on that. But going forward, our party leader, Musalia Mudavadi, will be in coalitions and more coalitions to form a winning team, including the coastal region. I don't know why we always forget that we have a whole block, which currently, as we started, is not represented there, but it's really coming out strong on the main table. Now, about the by-elections, we need to win as NC Matungu, given that it was our previous seat, and I'm sure we're going to win. But in the unlikely event that we don't win, because for me I go for facts and I don't go with the emotions, I don't think that should also be taken outright, extrapolated that then we cannot win the presidency come 2022. I've been into by-elections personally, previously, as Kasim Sawatandaza, and into a general election. Honestly, the way people vote in a by-election sometimes is totally different from the way they vote in a general election. So my rider into this, we are going to win, we need to win, but in the likely event, it should not be taken outright that then Musalia will lose in the general election. In any case, as the professor has rightly said, he's been spot on matters economy, and we all know once the economy of this country is fixed, hula, we are good to go.
Okay, that's interesting. Mark Bichachi, even as we talk about the anticipated formations that might come quite soon, Raila Odinga, what is his options, perhaps? Photos have emerged, Mukisa Kitui, Kivutha Kibwana, but him receiving fire from his previous coalition partners. Talk to us about the future of coalitions as we go into the 2022 election.
First, I would like to thank Kasim for correcting me. He is quite correct. The difference is this, that I said 300,000, I should have said 483,000 or 0.3% of the vote. I apologize, and I stand corrected. Number two is this, that what are the options for Raila Odinga? For Raila Odinga, especially if the BBI goes through, then he has a world and a plethora of options. Number one, let us not forget that Raila is excellent at building coalitions. He's done so since 2002. He's the one who made the Rainbow Coalition a reality. And when Mwai Kibaki was in London receiving treatment, it is Raila who ran his campaign. Let us not forget that. In 2007, Raila put together the Pentagon, which gave Kibaki a run for his money. In fact, many say that he likely won that particular election. 2013, once again, he gave Uhuru and Ruto a run for their money. 2017, again, he did it. And if you see the talk even from the other NASA principals, they're not talking about bailing out of NASA. They're asking him to remain within NASA and to support them. So Raila Odinga, of course, also having shaken hands with Uhuru, has also done a bit in terms of reducing what was known as Railaphobia within Central. It may not all be dead, but the reduction means a lot. So the man to watch really is Raila Odinga. That's the man to watch. And also remember that now with the BBI, he has the option, if he becomes president, to choose cabinet secretaries both from parliament and from the private sector. So he can go to a Kivutha Kibwana and say he'll be the CS of devolution. He can go to a Mukisa Kitui and say that he's going to be the Minister of Finance. So Raila Odinga has a lot of options working into 2022, and his options are further guaranteed by the fact that it seems like William Ruto is unable to attract his peers and is only able to keep those who are in his payroll to be members of Tanga. He's unable to attract a Kalonzo or a Tangula or whoever. So Raila Odinga has options, yes.
Interesting sentiments right there. Definitely will expound further. Allow me to just take a few calls from our viewers right now. One of them calling from Nandi County. Engineer Richard Keino is on the line. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning, too.
Yes, talk to us. Well, what do you think about the week that was, the various issues that we've canvassed?
According to me, I want first to talk about the BBI report. Yes, hello?
Yes, we can hear you, and you're calling at a good time because Nandi County just shot down the BBI bill. Talk to us about it.
The reason why the Nandi County shot the BBI was because of the wage bridge. Ukiona venye hii wage bridge inakuja tuleta shida kubwa sana. Especially that's unaona Central wana celebrate because wanajua watakuja kupata pesa huko Central. But sisi huku Nandi County tutaumia. I want to talk about the deputy president. Hakuna kitu yenye deputy president ata lose from the BBI report. Nataka nimwambie Mark Bichachi that hakuna kitu ambacho deputy president ata lose in BBI report due because hakukataa. Unasikia Jesse? Sasa yeye mwenyewe hakuoppose, ni wananchi ndio wanaamua. Then I want to tell the president wetu, tunampenda. Saizi Kenya tuko na shida mingi sana. Tunataka akae na deputy president waongee na yeye kama venye tusikule tupiga Jubilee. So that at least saizi hii Kenya yetu saizi tuko na mashida mingi sana. Secondly, about the Mudavadi and the Kalonzo, and the Gideon Moi.
Yes.
Sasa ukiona mtu mwenye atakuja kukua wanataka kuendorse is Musalia Mudavadi. And that's what hiyo game inachezwa saizi. So as Nandi County, we can say tulivote no. Na hiyo sasa inamaanisha kuwa tulifuata yenye wananchi walisema. Sasa hizi mambo zote zinaendelea kwa dunia inatupea tabu sana. Thank you, Jesse.
Okay, kabla ukate simu engineer,
Yes.
mlivote no, umemention one of the key issues ilikuwa kwa sababu ya wage bill, eh?
Yes.
But umemention Nandi County will be losing. Kindly expound on that.
Like, surely, Jesse, why is that 15% in Nandi County? All 15% itakuja Nandi County. 35% itakujaje Nandi County? Ama nchi yote. Yesterday kuna MC moja alisimama, anaitwa Cynthia, akasema 15% haijafika county. Na ni ukweli. Hii 35% itafikaje county? Hasa kama ni wewe. So nataka niwaambie wa Kenya wenzetu, tafadhali, kama MMCs waliamua kupitisha hii kitu 2022 watajionea. Then secondly, the reason why President Uhuru Kenyatta did a good something, alikuwa anatuambia kuwa watu wenye mnachagua muone tabia yenye wanafanya. Wale wanapenda tumbo wanasahau kazi yao. Na ni ukweli. I support the president. So alikuwa anatufungulia macho. That BBI report, kama tungechukua kama the BBI report ingetusaidia. Lakini sasa hizi tumeinclude 2022 politics. Like yesterday, Gideon Moi and the president and others. Badala wangeita so walikuwa wamesema this BBI itatu united. Sasa ime-united nani?
Okay.
So we want to say, this BBI report, we support it. But,
all right.
Hakuna 35% yet. I want to talk about the Baringo people. Let me make it to be clear.
Shortly, engineer.
Baringo County voters hawakukataa about the BBI report. They were telling president that hatutaki Gideon Moi.
Okay.
Yes,
okay. But he's definitely not in the BBI, engineer. So that's definitely diversionary tactics right there. But anyway, he's mentioned a couple of things and we'll get to explore it as our panelists give us our final remarks. I also have a final caller on the line. Franklin Kimei is on the line from Nandi County as well. Franklin, good morning. How are you? Franklin, can you hear me? Okay, we apologize for that. Let's get the quick reaction. The logic, well, we can question part of his logic in terms of application on the BBI, gentlemen, but I'll leave you to it. A couple of issues have come up, the issue on wage bill, and definitely what I asked you, Professor, earlier on, 15% hasn't been achieved, 35%. Give us your final remarks. I'll start with the Professor.
I think final remarks is we need to separate emotions and separate personalities from discussion of government policy or legislation. That way we are objective, because we need to be objective. So, of course, he has a right to raise those issues, but we need to be very sober in our assessment. I have said before that even if that 5 or 15% is not there today, it will be there 30 or even 10 years, because the law looks ahead, is looking ahead.
Okay.
So that's an argument.
All right.
We need to refocus ourselves. We need to make law for posterity. We need to remove the personalities, and we need to be very sober and less emotions.
Well, removing personality is important, but also the issue of unity, Kasim Tandaza, has come up. And he mentioned that BBI was supposed to unite, yet one person was conspicuously missing. Talk to us even as you give us your final take.
I'll pick it from where professors left. You know, this unity, it is unity of Kenyans. It is not unity of individuals. And the fact that I'm seated next to Professor here does not mean that we are united. You know, there are some fundamental issues which will make the country united, like the distribution of resources. To me, that is very fundamental in uniting Kenyans. No Kenyan should feel left out because he does not have the presidency. His tribe's person is not the president, as the current situation is. To me, that is the unity we should be talking about. 2, I would also want to make this correction. Since the inception, the implementation of the 2010 Constitution, the Kenyan government has never given less than 15%. So this notion that where is the 15%, I think it's high time people also get it right. At no one point has the Kenyan government failed to give the 15%. In fact, they've been giving more. Now it's the question of, by law, I'm supposed to give you 15%. I've promised to give you 20%. I'm not able to give you the 20%, but by law, it surpasses the 15%.
Okay.
You can't go to court and claim otherwise with all the civil societies around. If the Constitution was being floated to that extent, that would have been cured or it would be in court. So please, Kenyans, let's understand, at no one point has this government failed to honor that bit of the Constitution.
All right.
35% is very much achievable because the notion created that we need more money to give 35%, this is also wrong. It's mathematically wrong.
Okay.
Yeah, the same amount, it will be 35%, period.
Let's cross over to Mark Bichachi. Give us your final thoughts on this. Also include some of the points that were raised by our caller.
Well, one of the things that I would like to state is that, number one, at no point has the president said that the deputy president is not welcome into the BBI. It is the deputy president himself who has decided to remove himself from the BBI process. And one of the things, and you know, it's very funny that the deputy president causes the disunity and then blames the other people as to why they are not united. That's not does not make sense. But let me give my final example. If you have an orange and you've got one friend to share the orange, you take the orange and you split it into half. If a third friend joins you, you take the same orange and you split it into thirds. The idea that if we take an orange and we split it 15%, then if we do 35%, we need a bigger orange, just tells me that we really need the CBC, because clearly that MCA, Uko Nandi, needs help in doing fractions.
Okay, let's not be personal, but anyway, the point is across. Definitely, gentlemen, I appreciate your input right here. And even as we wrap up today's discussion, definitely clear that a lot of civic education, especially uko mashinani, is needed. And that is welcome move, even as the team announced the kickstart of the popularization process. We'll definitely watch out for what Linda Katiba also does in terms of their stand against the Constitutional Amendment Bill 2020. Gentlemen, many thanks. I was joined by Professor Gitile Naituli, the former NCIC Commissioner, Mark Bichachi, Communication Strategist, joining us via way of Zoom, and last but not least, Kasim Tandaza, Member of Parliament, Matuga constituency. Gentlemen, thanks for your time. Let's take a short break. We'll be back with more and the latest in the world of entertainment. Stay with us.